Hi, I'm Mike Dilk and you're listening to the Relax Back UK show, the show that explores all kinds of health topics relevant to you, your family and your friends. Each week I talk to expert guests from a range of backgrounds to inform and entertain you. So please do join the Relax Back UK family and stay tuned.
Hi, and thank you for joining me on the Relax Back UK show. We chat about a couple of things associated with spring. First of all, cleaning and organising.
To see 88% also agree that a clean and organised space encourages a clear and focused mind. You know, that's all we want at this moment in time.
I chat with cleaning and decluttering expert Nicola Lewis and Jamie Kitt, MD of Shark Ninja. Then what's been discussed here?
About 84% of Brits have considered doing it, but they're actually unaware of how helpful it can be.
Senior cardiac nurse with the British Heart Foundation, Emily McGrath, talks about the benefits of cold water swimming. So please do stay tuned for a great show. Thank you.
This show is cool!
When I have medical experts on the show, I often ask what their credentials, what their qualifications are. Now, Nicola Lewis, she's a cleaning and decluttering expert. So my first question to her was, well, you know, what are your credentials? What are your qualifications?
My credentials are quite impressive, actually.
I like that. Good start.
I learned everything really from my mum and dad growing up in the East End, working class family, all working together, and learned about ethics, learned about housekeeping, helping one another, from even Sunday mornings seeing my dad clean all our shoes for the week ahead, you know, and it was all about helping one another.
Does anyone do that now? I must admit,
don't
I haven't
think
polished my
so.
shoes for a long time.
I don't
used
think
to,
no one does that no more, but they should, because they look nice, don't they, when they're polished?
and they last longer.
And they do last longer. Yeah, and then I had a career in investment banking and then decided to amalgamate all of those life skills and create a business for myself 8 years ago.
Okay, all right, and the rest is history. And
And
James,
the rest is history.
you're the boss. You wear the big hat. You know, we don't need to know your qualifications. You're the MD of Shark Ninja. So first question really to both of you. Is a tidy environment and a tidy mind, is that really true? I know it's a saying, but is it really true?
Well, it's a great question, and maybe I'll jump in there. Look, from our perspective at Shark Ninja, we listen to customers. We want to know what customers are thinking, what their needs and wants are, and then we build products to meet that, right? So we are intently focused on hearing what problems they say they've got. Sometimes we'll build products that meet solutions or meet problems that they didn't even realize they had, right? And that's kind of when you get a real aha moment. But we care a lot about what our customers need and want, and then we care a lot about innovating and delivering great products to meet those requirements. So in this instance, we conducted some research because we wanted to understand.
I like data. This show likes data. So give us some cold, hard evidence.
So we thought, let's go and talk to some consumers and understand the secret to happiness and the role of a clean home, and just how does that world all come together, and what role can we play in ultimately delivering against that. But firstly, we wanted to understand what were our customers saying. And then that's where we enrolled Nicola as an expert to kind of help us, you know, unpick this information, this data, and have a look at some of the results and think about what are the implications and what does it mean. So yeah, it's a fascinating piece of work that we recently conducted, and it shows some really interesting data points.
Give us some of them. Give us some numbers.
Well, so maybe I'll start and then Nicola can jump in. So the one that jumped out to me, 65% of people said that having a clean floor positively impacted their stress levels. So we're seeing here that, like, our products that we're putting into market can help consumers deliver a much or a lower stress environment. So we felt that's a good thing. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Maybe Nicola, you can talk about some of the other things we saw.
I mean, the research from Shark Ninja is so impressive, and it actually made me smile a lot, because I've been doing this business now for 8 years and I've worked in over 400 homes, and to see that 64% experience a greater sense of peace of mind by cleaning and tidying their space, I really feel like it's changed from, well, the narrative has changed from it being, you know, just falling on one pair of shoulders. It's now a joint, and everyone in the home is taking ownership of this. And to see 88% also agree that a clean and organised space encourages a clear and focused mind. You know, that's all we want at this moment in time. And to go into your home and it feel like a perfect nest of what your home should feel like, you know, surrounded by all the things that you love, and that you can see, and just having visions of, you know, things that tidiness and clear spaces that just make sense to you and your family.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna maybe put a cat amongst the pigeons here, because if I go and visit a friend or a neighbour's house and you walk in and the house is spotless and tidy, I've got to say I'm a little bit suspicious of them. You know, what were they doing just before I arrived? You know, there's no books out, there's no newspaper, there's no games. You know, are they living in a museum? You know, people got to do something, and if you do something, you make a mess.
Yeah, but we mustn't judge, okay? Because everyone lives in different ways. And I think the most important thing is that people's homes are all unique and different. And we must realise that what we like in our space is different to someone else's space. So if they're happy in that space, then yeah, that there's no judgment really from my point of view, and I don't think we should be judging others in their spaces.
Okay, you're a better person than me, Nicola. I tend to be a bit judgy. So, all right. So you might be horrified if you came to my house, because there's projects on the go. You know, my son does a lot of dressmaking and sewing. All his stuff is out.
Amazing.
And it takes a while to get in place, and you know, if you tidy it away each time, it's you know, it's much easier just to start the project. So he leaves it out, admittedly sometimes for a few weeks, which does get a bit irritating. But so it's just something that.
Yeah, but the thing is with that, I'm on the fence with that as well, because I think that you should be surrounded by the things that, you know, fulfill you. And if you're creative, you're going to be surrounded by a lot of things that, you know, you need to create. And so that's fair enough. But you could maybe have a suggestion, a really nice big box for all of his, you know, fabrics and things to go into, so they don't get lost. So you can vacuum around that box, you know, and still keep it a tidy space.
All this is possible. Now, there's been a massive change in kind of our work life approach since COVID and technology and all that. Working at home, have you noticed a lot more people wanting your help to declutter, because now they're working from home and they find that it's just a bit more efficient, or in the background of the Zoom, they don't see chaos like you can see chaos in the back of my office here.
Well,
so are you finding people are more interested in that with the advances of working from home?
Well, firstly, I think you're being very authentic and honest, which is great. But there are also screen, you know, what they called screen filters that you can put behind you if you are so worried about your background.
Yeah, I don't know how they work.
I think, you know, working from home is still, people are still adapting to that. You know, yesterday I was working, doing various things on a hostess trolley because I needed the right light, you know, for this particular, you know, meetings and things. And I just think that if you do have the tools around you, you know, you just set up and deliver, and you're there kind of giving out your expertise. But having the right tools around you so it's tidy and clean, I feel does make you more productive and allows you to, you know, focus on that topic and that subject with a bit more passion, rather than looking around and feeling overwhelmed with mess and clutter.
I suppose there's two ways to look at it. If actually my wife is terrible for this. If she's got to get on with some work, and she works a lot harder than I do, and if she's surrounded by a bit of mess, she needs to tidy it up. I say to her, look, that's just a distraction. You're trying to stop yourself doing the work. And she says, no, I can't do it if things are a mess. Yeah. Have you had which side do you guys come down on?
Well, the data is telling us that, you know, consumer stress levels can be significantly reduced if they've got a cleaner home, they've got a cleaner floor. That doesn't mean everybody, but 65% of the 1,000 people we spoke to gave us that piece of information. And I think you're right to talk to, like, working from home. That means we're in the home more. Like, we're kind of making more mess at home. We're using our home more. We're treading on the carpets and the floor more than maybe we were 5 years ago, right, when the house was completely empty all week. So I think the demands on us as a manufacturer of products is to kind of ensure that we're delivering a solution that meets today's needs, not a need from a few years back. So that means that products need to work harder, they need to be, you know, used more regularly, maybe they need longer battery life, they need to, you know, adjust to the way we're living now. So I think we take all those things into consideration when we're building our portfolio and our products, again, because we have to listen acutely to customers and what they want and what they're telling us. Otherwise you end up, you know, building things that are ethereal, not things that are genuinely in the interest of the customer. And we are obsessed by what customers' needs and wants are, and ultimately how do we make their lives better.
Okay, I've got a very specific, difficult customer quandary stroke problem for you then. My son is doing mocks for GCSE at the moment. Frankly, I'm generally somewhat terrified to go into his room, as I suspect a lot of parents are with children at 15, 16-year-old. Should I just go in there and say, right, we're going to tidy it up because his studying might be better? Because if, you know, it's a mess, is he constantly distracted by the mess? What can I do there?
Okay, this is a great question, and I can relate because I have a similar age child as well. I believe in just leaving them into their space. This is their safe space. You can introduce them with positive, kind of taking ownership of their space. So positive words of, you know, is there something that you would like help with in your space? Do you want, you know, anyone to help you with tidying? Is there anything that's distracting you? Would there be anything you want motivating you in this space? You know, you can introduce all kinds of wonderful aromatherapies, you know, like rosemary is meant to be brilliant at this time for, you know, improving concentration. I think also what's really encouraging in this time is that, you know, by you not going in there and tidying up that space is not teaching them a lesson. I think if you was to say, take ownership of your space and have it a way that makes you function, you know, how you feel, you know, it's going to work for you, is a more beneficial you coming in and saying something like that, rather than adding more stress and saying you need to tidy this space and remove all this stuff.
Yeah, okay. I might take something like that on board.
That's good. Let us know how you get on.
Yeah, well, it is genuinely quite difficult because it's an important time.
Yeah.
And you know, you've got to reduce the.
I think it's a lot of fresh air. It's obviously them trying to, that, you know, it's navigating through a very difficult, stressful time, you know, and they're doing it for the first time themselves. So, you know, I think having that conversation with them in order to ask them what do they want in their space, what is overwhelming them in their space, and then as parents you can help them, you know, kind of deliver what it is they want, and then maybe show them. I think that that's more beneficial.
Moving on from that, and this could apply to a kid's space for doing homework, but for a workspace in the home, if a workspace is very clean and tidy, you might call it clean and tidy. I might call it, frankly, somewhat sterile. I need inspiration in what I do. You know, if I'm surrounded by in a box and it's all white walls, I end up feeling a bit sad. I need inspiration, otherwise nothing happens. How can we provide inspiration and also be clean and tidy and everything in its perfect space and no newspapers out and no books out?
Perfect. I mean, inspiration is like visually, again, unique to everyone and each home. So really, it's about how you want to display those things, those items around you. You can, like I suggested earlier, about, you know, containing or displaying shelves, getting things off the floor and using the wall space is a really great way to, you know, showcase your creativity and you know, clear a space as well, because as soon as you remove things off the floor, guess what? You can clean it. But you're still surrounded by the things that inspire you as a creative. So there's always, you know, it's just using your imagination and being surrounded by things that you enjoy. You know, if you don't enjoy that surrounding and that background, then, you know, allocate some time, even if it's 15 minutes, and, you know, remove distractions and sort out those files if you don't like them. You know, it's about what you put your attention to, that gives you the results, that fuels how you feel about your own space.
Okay, no, all good comments. Now, if people are listening and think, right, I would like to change my space, it's either my workspace or my home in general, whatever it might be, and they want some ideas, some thoughts on how to go about doing that, can you mention a couple of good resources for them, either of you?
Yeah, well, the first tip of mine I would suggest is to start small. Always make a plan. For example, if you used to look in a space and there might be certain areas or drawers or cupboards that are overwhelming you, write them down. Don't start and tackling the whole space in one go, because that will just bring overwhelm. Give yourself the motivation to tackle one space and feel inspired to do something, to prioritize yourself or prioritize your home, and then pat yourself on the back. You know, you've done something that's going to ultimately, you know, make you feel great and your space and the people around it. So yeah, I think a plan is a really, really good way, and it just motivates you to carry that forward around your home and make a difference.
Very good. Have you got anything to add, James?
I would say just seek inspiration, right? And so whether that's going into socials, if that's where you look, if you're going to TikTok, to Instagram, Pinterest, like there's lots of different resources out there. From our perspective, you know, we're in so many different product categories. We can provide inspiration through our technologies that allow you to do so many different things around the home, be it in the kitchen or in the cleaning space. So, you know, look into those channels and be inspired by what you see.
My next guest, Emily McGrath, is a senior cardiac nurse at the British Heart Foundation, and I started by asking her if cold water swimming is getting more popular, and if so, why?
It's actually growing in popularity by quite a lot. We found that about 84% of Brits have considered doing it, but they're actually unaware of how helpful it can be. So I think it's emerging in popularity following from big events like the London Marathon. People were looking for the next challenge, perhaps, and people enjoy it for many reasons. Most of the people I speak to who really enjoy it, they do it for kind of their mental well-being. It's a sense of escapism, and it's your drive to keep going. You can't get bored when you're outdoor swimming or open water swimming. So it's
well,
that
you certainly can't stop.
No,
then you'll sink.
Exactly.
So, well, you know, how cold is cold? You know, because presumably that changes for everyone. Anything less than a warm bath for my wife is cold for her, and for me it's kind of warm if I can still feel my feet. So you know how cold is cold?
Well, I would say cold could be an average of, from what I understand, about 10 degrees, but obviously people wear wetsuits, and that's for people that are doing it all the time in all the elements. What I'm talking
It's
about,
soft, isn't it, wearing a wetsuit?
no, absolutely don't even think about not doing that unless you're very, very brave. It's really important just to keep your core temperature safe. So it's very important that people do that. And also, obviously, if you go to an event, you're going to have a safety talk, so you'll know what to do and how to be prepared.
Okay. Well, before our chat, I did a little bit of Googling, which I admit is a dangerous thing to do. And I actually landed it on the RNLI website, and it went through a list of things. Your heart rate goes up, your blood starts pumping more, and it was giving all these things as, you know, these are bad things to happen. Stress hormone levels can go up, leading to sort of abnormal heart rhythms and possible cardiac arrest, and that's all before you start suffering from hypothermia. So I've found a great list of things that are not great for you. So I decided to try and balance that, and I looked up what's good about cold water swimming, and the list was the same, so more or less. So Emily, what's going on here? Is it really good for you? Because the RNLI, who kind of know what they're talking about, say don't do it.
It depends on your individual risk. So if you have a heart condition, you would have to check with your doctor first. But the point of when you get involved with open water swimming or you sign up for an event is that you train. So You don't run before you can walk. You build up that stamina. You have an understanding about the safety aspects. You're wearing your wetsuit. You don't go on your own. And you have that reassurance. Like if you do it on your own, that's different. But if you're going to an organised event, you know that the water's been tested and it's safe. And if you did our peer-to-peer event, the water's going to be about 17 degrees because it's in July. So you know you're not going to be too cold, which is reassuring. If you're new to it, if you're a professional, it doesn't matter. It's good to know that it's not going to be sort of throwing yourself into something that's going to be too scary or risky for you. So I say as long as you're looking at what you can and cannot do. Unfortunately, obviously not everyone can do this event or cold water swimming, but a lot of people can, and they have no idea how good it is for your heart health as well, because you touched upon the fact your heart rate's going to go faster. And if you're healthy,
go through what's good about it. I've put a bit of a damper on things.
No.
So big it up. Why should I take it up?
So it's the same benefit as all exercise. Your heart rate is going to go up, and because people I know of that do it, they get so into doing it regularly. You're doing that on a regular basis. You're exerting yourself. Your heart rate's going up. It manages your other risk factors like lowering your blood pressure, lowering your cholesterol. And I suppose as a side benefit,
let me just butt in. How does it lower your blood pressure? Because if the outside of you is cold, if your skin is cold, your blood vessels kind of constrict because it keeps the blood in the center of your body, in your core. That's kind of the natural thing. So because the blood vessels are smaller, it's more effort to push blood through them. So your blood pressure goes up. That doesn't sound like a great thing.
No, it's the fact that it's the same principle with any exercise. Because you're working your heart harder, that as a result lowers your blood pressure. So it's the same as any activity in that sense, although what you're saying is true in the cold. But you're going to be wearing a wetsuit, so you're not going to be cold. You're going to be very warm. And if you're doing the event, it's the 5th of July, you're not going to be that cold. So none of those things will be applicable. And I sort of to say to people, if they are considering doing something and challenging themselves, what a fantastic thing to do, because it's on a beautiful coastline and it's raising money for our research and Rich Heart Foundation. So it's a fantastic reason to do it.
Yeah, sorry, we've glossed over. This is you're bigging up a particular event. Not just cold water swimming in general, but also an event. Tell us about the specific event.
So the specific event is on the 5th of July, and there's still space available. Entries cost £50, and there are 4 start times to choose from. You should wear a wetsuit. If you don't,
what is it? What's the event? Where is it? What is it?
Peer-to-peer. Sorry, it's peer-to-peer. It's Bournemouth Pier to Boscombe Pier, which is 1.4 mile swim, and it's one of Europe's biggest charity swims.
So 1.4 miles in open sea.
But it's calm. It's a safe area, or safer area, because it's very calm waters. There's going to be a lot of lifeguards present. You're going to have a safety briefing. You should have good weather, hopefully, being that it's July, so it makes it a little bit warmer. And there's going to be lots of people there. We sort of found that this is growing in popularity. In 24, we had 1,200 people taking part. And obviously we want that number to grow. We want more people to sign up and challenge themselves. So if people are looking for their next challenge or something new to try, this is a fantastic opportunity.
Okay, so it's good fun. It's a bit of a party atmosphere, and it raises money for the British Heart Foundation.
Yes, for us to fund more research into heart and circulatory disease. So there's lots of positives to it. And actually, if you want to have more fun, you could even maybe get some friends to also sign up, because you've got other people there as well that you know. Okay. As well as obviously people supporting you. It's just that it's a really fun day out, so lots of reasons to do it. And if you haven't done it before, you've got lots of, you've still got opportunity to start training.
If I sign up for this, or if anyone signs up for this, should, when they start, plunge in or edge in slowly? Because edging in slowly, it's painful as you go, or should you just get it all over in one go and jump in?
I think that's a personal choice. There's no right or wrong way to do it. If people want to plunge in, if people want to edge in, it's it's fine. When you jump in, you have that gasp people get when they go into cold water, but some people really enjoy that thrill of that. So that's another reason they prefer to
The thrill of the gasp.
the
All right.
thrill of the gasp. Yeah,
Well,
people
just
really enjoy that.
going back to my Googling and my RNLI website, it's the gasp for breath. They talk about the involuntary gasp for breath and the kind of when you do that. And there's a danger that your breathing rate can go a bit out of control. And when you go, you might inhale a load of water. And actually, you don't have to inhale very much water till you're in trouble, really. So,
No. Well, I would say that this is a very well supervised event. And although that's very important advice, if you don't feel, I mean, so obviously before you consider this event, you'd need to chat with your doctor anyway if you have a pre-existing heart condition. But it's just about obviously knowing that this is somewhere there's going to be lots of people there to look after you, lots of lifeguards on the route with you all the time. So you're never on your own, you're always supervised. And if you're not sure, just check, don't try it without that. I wouldn't overly, that's something to factor in, but it's just about being really careful and being safe.
Well, you mentioned a couple of times, don't go water swimming on your own. I mean, swimming on your own probably is a bad idea, but certainly cold water swimming. So are there lots of groups popping up around the country that you can kind of join, apart from this massive event where you certainly won't be on your own?
Yes.
Tell us about sort of cold water swimming groups that you can join or find out about locally. Are they popping up everywhere?
Yeah, they are. If you look up, obviously, most seaside areas and you just search online, you will find little, like small groups of people who are doing it together, because you shouldn't do this on your own. It's dangerous, and also you lose a sense of the fun. Like if you want to do something like this, I think it's nice to have people with you anyway to motivate you and to maybe keep up with each other as well.
Well, I can imagine that if people do this and they enjoy cold water swimming as a group, actually a lot of what they enjoy might be being part of a group.
Yeah, exactly. It's that sense of belonging. I mean, it's the same reason I think why anyone who finds something they're passionate about sticks with it, because you don't just get that enjoyment, the fitness benefits, the health benefits, but you get that sense of belonging to something. And that's such a huge part of why people do stick with things versus why they don't. So you're never going to get bored with this. It's always going to be fun and always going to be exciting.
I want to ask about something we touched on earlier. And I glibly said, wetsuits, they're a bit soft, aren't they? But seriously, wetsuits keep you warm and is part of the point getting cold. So tell me more about wetsuits. To get the full benefit, should you just, jump in naked?
No, absolutely not, because don't do that. We're not in that warmer climate. But if people did want to do that, it's about protecting your vital organs, so like your core area. That's why you wear a wetsuit. Obviously, it covers a larger area than that, but it's really important to maintain your body temperature. So they are the best choice. Even though people do have the option not to, I would always advise them to in this case.
And I mean, you can get wetsuits that cover everything. You can get gloves, boots. Like you can even get a thing that goes over your head.
Yeah.
So you look like a seal. So sharks might come and eat you, although that's probably not going to be a problem at your event.
No, incredibly unlikely. But as I said, it's so well supervised and monitored in every aspect that that you're in the safest place that you could be for this type of activity.
Yeah. Okay. What about some other safety equipment? I've come across, I think they're called tow floats. So things that float on the surface of the water and you sort of attach with a bit of string around your waist or something. So you drag it along when you're swimming. It doesn't really take much effort to pull along. It's bright red, so people can see it. And if you get worn out, you can just cuddle it and it will keep you afloat. Do people, am I an oddity coming across those sorts of things? Do people use those a lot?
I'm not actually sure. I suppose some people might prefer that as a security option, but a lot of people who want to run, complete a course wouldn't have that intention because they'd want to keep going. It doesn't sound like a bad thing to use, but I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. And as far as, well, in your event is swimming 1.4 miles. Other people that want to do cold water swimming, or maybe more of a cold water dunk, do people, wear flotation devices? You can get these big jackety things on that that are, well, life jackets almost, really. Do people use those?
I suppose if somebody wasn't as strong a swimmer, they might consider using those, but I don't know whether they would take part in the event or not. Maybe it would just be down to what they decide to do.
That's probably more of a general question, not necessarily about swimming in the event, just people that want to dunk in and.
Oh, just for dunking in, not for the event itself. Yeah, absolutely. I obviously but you don't want to be. I wouldn't promote flotation devices because of the risk of the current. So you don't want to be putting yourself at risk of being dragged out if you're going to be in the sea.
Okay.
So you're almost safer not having that. As long as you can get standing. Obviously, if you have a jacket on, that's completely different. But if you're having something that you're holding on to, we hear about it often with seas. Unfortunately, they get dragged out, and there can be a danger. So there is that element to it as well.
Okay. I was thinking, is there a sort of a similarity to things that have been done for years in Nordic countries? Like they go in the sauna, and then they run out and roll in the snow.
Oh yeah.
Are the benefits somewhat similar?
It's meant to be simply the fact that when you go from a hotter temperature to a colder temperature, it makes your circulation work harder. So that's why people are into cold water dunking, as you described it. I think it's not definitely proven to be advantageous, but it does kind of force your heart to work harder quickly, and then your whole circulation is going to pump blood around your body quicker. So in that theory, it should help.
Okay, because I mean they've been doing it for years, so
yeah. I think it is like that saying that people go from the sauna to the cold. It's meant to be beneficial, but I think that's a little bit, if you're in a sauna, that's more to do with your skin as well, so that's slightly different.
Right. Okay. Yeah, for sure. So you're keen for certainly people to take part in your event, and you're saying that get into cold water swimming, wherever you are throughout the UK, in rivers, in seas, lakes, all the rest of it, and that sounds like a lovely thing to do. But are we kind of missing a bit of an elephant in the room here? In that is that our seas and rivers are all full of poo.
So this is why it might be advantageous to be at an organised event rather than doing it yourself. I mean, if you're with a group, they would hopefully check on things like how clean the water is before they go into it, because that is a really good point. Is the water safe? And you're not going to know that unless you're with an environmental association who's going to be able to tell you that. That's all I would say.
Okay, so if you that's another reason to join a group, really, probably, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why you don't do it on your own, and that's another reason to wear a wetsuit. Not that the water would be filthy, but it's not going to be really clean. So yeah, I'd rather wear a wetsuit if I was going to be doing it.
Okay, if you are you taking part at this event in July?
Oh, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not around. But if I was, then I would definitely wear one.
Okay. All right. It sounds a bit like do as I say, not as I do.
Oh, no, not at all. I love swimming, but no, I'm not. Yeah. Not this year.
Perhaps now would be a good time to, well, two things really. Give people the details of this event that's coming up and what they can do if they want to get involved. And also somewhere where they can go for a bit more information about cold water swimming in general. What it's good to do, why it's good for them, and how to approach it, that sort of thing.
If you just Google BHF Peer to Peer Swim 2025, it will take you straight to the website, which will have a lot of information on there and links onto how you train, frequently asked questions, and safety concerns people may have. So I would advise people to go onto that page.
Okay. And is there lots of other information about cold water swimming in general there?
We have a lot of information sort of alongside that. If you just put cold water swimming British Heart Foundation or cold water swimming BHF, again, we have a lot of articles about this. It's something that we've brought up quite a lot in the past and had articles for our Heart Matters magazine as well.
Excellent. Right, Emily, look, thank you very much indeed for chatting, and I hope the event is a great success with, thousands of participants.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much to my guests on this week's show, and they were decluttering and cleaning expert Nicola Lewis, James Kitto, MD of Shark Ninja, and Emily McGrath, senior cardiac nurse at the British Heart Foundation. And of course, thank you to you for listening, and have a healthy week until next week.
Thanks for listening to the Relax Back UK show. Join me, Mike Dilk, again next week for more fascinating interviews and chat. If you're listening to the podcast version, please subscribe, like, and share it with your family and friends. And have a healthy week until next week.